Okay, gents, this is it. Our predictions for the 2023-24 Premier League season. It's that time of the year. The season kicks off on Friday, August the 11th. I'll be there at Turf Moor for Burnley against Manchester City. But let's get our predictions in, right? I mean, Nick, I'm coming straight to you. You've been compiling this over on Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com. So head over to the website and check out all of our predictions in full. But Nick, I'm going to start with an easy one with you. Who's going to win the title this year in the Premier League, and who's going to finish in the top four?
Oh man, Joe, I'll tell you what. I'm the eagerness of the soccer world to jump on anybody's bandwagon other than Manchester City because they lost in penalties in the Community Shield on a stupid goal that somehow makes Arsenal amazing is a lot for me to handle. And so I'm going with Man City. I wasn't sure that I could do it because no one's ever won 4 titles in a row in England. But did you see Mateo Kovacic? Did you see the new guy looking like he was built for the system? And in a game where Haaland didn't have it, in a game where they brought De Bruyne off the bench, and other players are still being bought. You got to prove it to me in more than a goofy happenstance win for me to say that Man City's not the favorite. Now, I could see 4 teams winning somehow by whether it be a lack of schedule congestion, whether it be Klopp recatching that magic, or Arsenal just reaching that next level. But to have me pick against Man City, I just can't do it. And because of the European schedule, I will tell you my top 4 was looking different until today when we found out that, or this week, excuse me, I don't know that it was today, when Nkunku is going to be missing for some time because I thought he was a key to Pochettino having instant success. So I will tell you my bet is City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United. I know that's not sexy, but Newcastle has to adjust to Europe. Chelsea just had that injury bug. And so that's what I think.
Wow. Yeah, kind of took the words right out of my mouth there with Chelsea because they were my big pick to come into the top 4, and I am questioning that now. It probably pushes them to maybe do another piece of business up top with maybe Vlahovic coming in with the Lukaku swap deal. They're talking about that. But yeah, and Nkunku being out, given how good he was in the summer series and in the States this summer with Nicholas Jackson up top and Raheem Sterling just floating into those little spaces. I mean, that trio worked really well in attack. So that's a big blow for Chelsea. I think Man City are going to win it as well. I think they just made the best defense even better with the signing of Guardiola. And I just think that, yeah, I can't see any weaknesses. Can't see any weaknesses in this Man City squad. I think Arsenal will push them. I think Man United will finish in the top 4 as well. And I'm still going to go with Chelsea to finish in the top 4 as well, because I think the factor of not having any European action whatsoever is going to help them. It's going to help them, and it's going to help build the kind of identity that Pochettino wants. And I think Tottenham is still too much uncertainty there. Defensively, still have a lot of issues with them. Liverpool will be close, but again, not sure on the midfield rebuild and some of the leaders they've lost and some of the defensive issues they still probably have. And yeah, like you said, Newcastle as well. I think being in the Champions League is going to be a little bit too much for them. So I'm going to have a City to win the title, Arsenal, Man United, and Chelsea to make up the top 4. Andy, what do you
got? I've got something very similar to that, Joe. Actually, I think I probably would just maybe switch United and Chelsea in the order there. But I don't think it's a close title race. I'll ask you guys a question then. What would have to happen for City to not win the title this season? But it feels like we are in that kind of territory with them, though, to where the other 19 clubs all have to kind of plot their demise together. And we need to scheme up a narrative and a storyline for, well, Manchester City can't win the title because of what? Like, what would it actually take for them to not win it? Because, Joe, you're right. They had the best defense in the league last season and probably the season before and before and before, probably since Pep's been there. And they had one of the best center back prospects that we've seen in a long, long time. So they're only, in theory, on paper, only going to be better.
Yeah, that's a bit scary for the rest of us, isn't it, watching that? Nick, relegated teams. I'm just going to go ahead and say I think that the 3 that came up, it doesn't always happen, rarely happens, but I think all 3 are going to go back down. I just think Burnley have the best chance of staying up, given some of the experience they have there from their last Premier League time and the fact they bounced back straight away and they've made some smart additions. But yeah, I think this is going to be too much for Sheffield United and Luton Town. And this is a really strong Premier League when you think about the teams that went down last season as well. So yeah, anybody else that you expect to struggle? Because it's been a strange summer for a few teams who were kind of around the relegation zone. If I'm thinking like Everton, even Forest, Crystal Palace, I know surged late in the season, but missing Zaha as well after he left. So yeah, is there any other teams that you fancy to go down this season?
Yeah, there are actually. I agree with you on Luton Town and Sheffield United. I have a feeling about Burnley. I think they're buying the sort of players that shows me Vincent Kompany's learned from the people he's been around, whether that be what City did. Obviously, they don't have the money of City, but I like what they're doing. I like Everton in a full season under Sean Dyche. I don't think it's going to impress Everton fans, but I don't think there'll be trouble. The two teams I'm looking at are Wolves. I just not sure exactly the plan. And if you've brought in this big name coach and you're not making him happy to the extent where we've worried about whether or not he's going to hang around there, something's not right there. The other team I want to look at, I know this is going to surprise a lot of people, is Fulham. Palhinha's injury early in the season, Mitrovic has been a bit of a talisman for them. I just don't know that I'm seeing enough from them to maybe a little bit of what Everton a couple years ago. Where are the goals going to come from? And I'm concerned about that. Can Willian still be a difference maker? He surprised us last year, but at some point, can the wheels stay on? So Fulham is a team that concerns me a little bit.
Andy, as Nick was talking there, I'm thinking about a few other teams maybe that I'm a bit concerned about. Bournemouth and Brentford.
Yep.
The latter losing Ivan Toney. I know Brentford's close to your heart, so sorry about that. But
Okay.
I didn't quite like what I've seen from them in pre-season so far, and I just worried the situation defensively with David Raya. Obviously, as I said, Toney being missing for a big chunk of the season. And yeah, I don't know. Those are two teams that I think could get sucked into it. But I agree with Nick on Wolves as well, with the future of Lopetegui up in the air and losing Ruben Neves. And it's actually, now I said it, I know I said the three teams who are gonna come up are gonna go down. I think it's going to be an almighty battle between 6 or 7 teams like we saw last season. I think there's a very defined group of the bottom 6 or 7 in the Premier League. So who are you going for?
Yeah, Brentford do need to figure out how to defend. I'll grant you that one, Joe. They did not. A lot of teams in the Premier League Summer Series didn't look to be, in tip-top defensive shape so far. But Brentford, especially some of the goals they gave up. I like the other team that you mentioned there as well, though, Joe, to go down. Actually, Bournemouth last season somehow could have very easily finished 12th, 13th. They were just a couple points off of there, but they were, and pretty comfortably, bottom in the league in terms of expected goals difference, minus 25 on the course of the entire season. Southampton, who went down, a couple goals better. Leeds, who went down, a lot of goals better. And Leicester, who went down, a lot of goals better than Bournemouth in that category. And it just felt like there was a bit of devil magic going on last season with Bournemouth, and they just kept getting results, and I didn't quite understand why, and I put a pin in it and put it to the side, and I came back to it this preseason and looked at just the way that their season went, kind of the business that they've done this summer. It's been very attack-minded, which tends to be a bit of an irresponsible way to kind of go about strengthening a team in the Premier League. Just given the attacking talent that is in this league, I think they're going to struggle defensively, and I don't know where the goals come from for them either. Kind of a similar problem to what Nick was talking about. So I think Bournemouth could be in some trouble this season. But you know what? They came back up last season, managed to stay in for a year. They get a second season. We'll see if they can do it again.
Yeah, let's see. Nick, finishing up with the biggest surprise for you. Any big surprises you're predicting for this season?
Yeah, I don't know how big it will be or would have been. I would have told you Chelsea. Just seeing Jackson and Nkunku working together, Pochettino being a great manager. Enzo Fernandez, to me, delivered on the hype last season and can run a midfield at least suitably. But now, I mean, waiting a significant period of time for Nkunku to come back, I just think that's a huge cog for them. It's someone they identified a long time ago. So if you asked me to pick a surprise, I guess it would be Liverpool hanging around in the title discussion. The advanced numbers around Van Dijk with no midfield were still somewhat okay last year. So if Klopp can figure out the midfield, which we've seen him do at a couple clubs before, I wouldn't put it past Liverpool to hang around in the discussion. And they've got a chance to make an impact in week 1.
Absolutely. Andy, big surprise for you?
We're going to go head-to-head here, Nick. Would it be a surprise if Klopp is fired this season? Would that surprise anyone? It just... I don't know. If the first couple months of the season it doesn't start smoothly, it just feels like the manager and the club maybe have reached full time together, and at some point it just needs to happen, and you need to rip the Band-Aid off, and you need to just accept it. And so, to me, that would be a pretty big surprise because he's been there long enough now, and he's synonymous with the club. It feels like. But it feels like maybe this might be the season. We talked about it last year, like it came up a couple times at a couple points during the season. So, we'll see.
I'm going to go with Tottenham. I think they're going to have a really good start to the season. I'm not sure they're going to finish in the top 4, but I think they are going to be really good and really fun to watch under Ange. And I think that might actually sway Harry Kane to sign a new contract if they have a great start to the season. And then, just kind of play football that creates a lot of chances and goals. So that's going to be my big surprise package. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest predictions ahead of the new season. We'll have you covered. All 380 games in this campaign. The 3 guys you see on the screen will have how to watch information, live analysis during games, video highlights, recaps, reaction, and much more. Cannot wait for this season to get kicked off. Gents, let's do it again.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.